Get your picture.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for coming. How are you?
Great to see you.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to take a picture and then I'll take a picture. Fred, where do you want us? You want us over here by the flags or? Yes. Good morning, how are you? Fabulous.
I'm with 98, which is all I actually got an opportunity
I'm James. No, I'm just Is yours? No, he probably would have known it. Besides the
All right, good morning, everybody. I'm Jack Batchelor, Mayor of the City of Dixon, and I wanted to take a few minutes to welcome Congressman Miller and Supervisor Vann to this morning's event talking about Veterans Affairs. As everybody knows, we have a number of veterans in our community, and we're very proud of what Dixon is doing in terms of servicing veterans. We have a transitional housing for veterans here in Dixon, the one and only in Solano County. We also are right next door to the Sacramento Valley National Cemetery, and many of the members of the American Legion Post here volunteer on a daily basis as honor guards. Joe Bach is one of them. And they really show a commitment to veterans. So again, excuse me, on behalf of the City of Dixon, we want to welcome you. And before we begin, as you know, we have an election going on here in Dixon for City Council. We have two candidates here: Steve Burt, who is a candidate for City Council, and Ted Hickman, who is a candidate for City Council. So let's give them a round of applause. I'll turn it over to our distinguished guests for the discussion of Veterans Affairs. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I think we have a member from the Legion who's going to join us up here for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for
of all, I'd like to thank Congressman Miller for making the trip out here with all of us. As chairman of the Veteran Affairs Committee, it's so important that we have him joining us today because we have an opportunity for him to hear your concerns firsthand. And now while I've been traveling throughout this district and had the opportunity to talk with so many veterans and hear about what's going on in their lives and what their needs are, not only immediate but for the future, I wanted to make sure that the Congressman was here to hear them as well. Now, for those of you that don't know, my grandfather was a World War II vet. He was a gunner, shot down about the last 3-4 weeks of the war. He was a prisoner of war, and his brother was shot down about a week before him, my great uncle, and they both ended up in the same camp together. They were kept on the march for the last 3 weeks of the war, were starved, and almost died. My other grandpa served during the Korean War. He was an airplane mechanic. And my dad is a Vietnam vet. Now these 3 men shaped who I am. I owe so much of what I have been able to do to them. My grandpa, after the Korean War, came home and built a small business in our community. Built that business into a thriving business that served our entire family. We all worked in this business. He took care of us. Now my dad came home and farmed and started a family with my mom, and then they had me. So much of who I am is shaped by these men, and I am so grateful for their service. Kind of makes me choke up a little bit, sorry. I wouldn't be who I was or who I am without them. And so I'm truly grateful to have the opportunity to run for Congress and to hopefully improve the service that veterans are receiving. I'm not going to talk too much because I know most of you have had either the opportunity to talk to me or we're going to have the opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the chairman of the Veterans Committee, Congressman Miller.
Thanks, Kim. I'm going to stand up if I can so I can get a chance to talk to her. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's great to be here. I flew in last night, came in from Washington actually. We had a joint House Senate hearing with the American Legion where they present their annual request to us and things that they think that we as a committee can do better, and prodding us along a little bit to kind of force the administration to do some things that they haven't been doing. And then I got on the plane to fly out here last night thinking as I told Kim that I was going to have a TV set at my seat where I could watch that TV thing that went on last night. And lo and behold, we got an aircraft switch and I had no TV. So, and my iPad was dead, so I flew all the way out here not knowing how the debate went. I was very pleased to see how the debate went by the time I got a chance to see it. Let me tell you a little bit about what our committee has been doing. And by and large, our committee is one of those that works in a bipartisan fashion. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about me. I represent the Panhandle, Florida, Naval Air Station Pensacola, Naval Air Station Whiting Field, Eglin Air Force Base, Hurlburt Field, which is home to Air Force Special Ops. Also now the brand new home to the 7th Group, left Fort Bragg, came down to our part of the world. So heavy military. We have 130,000 veterans call my congressional district home more than any other district in the country. But in working veterans issues, we like to work them in a bipartisan fashion and not try to make them political footballs. And by and large, that has occurred on our committee. Every once in a while, though, and a lot of it comes out of the White House, you start to see political footballs being thrown around, and that discourages me quite a bit, because there's one thing in the Constitution that everybody knows that we're supposed to do, and that is defend this country against all enemies, period. And part of defending that country is taking care of those who wore the uniform for the battle, their widows and their orphans, as Abraham Lincoln said. Of course, you all know George Washington said, that people will know what this country stands for by how we treat our veterans. We have a veterans health system that works very well if you can get into it. That's the biggest issue that's out there. So what we have been trying to do, number one, is to help improve accessibility to health care. Help veterans who today are finding themselves without jobs both returning veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan. Also that 35 to 60-year-old age group that is finding themselves now unemployed because of the disastrous economic situation that we find ourselves in, to help them retrain to make themselves more competitive in today's job market. We passed a piece of legislation last year called the Vann Hire Heroes Act. Within it, we have a program called VDRAP, which is a Veterans Retraining Assistance Program, and that provides retraining for, as I said, the older veterans. But we have a lot of young vets that are coming out today that, unfortunately, and I know this district has an extremely high unemployment rate across the board, but veterans being hit as well. And so we have been working, trying to get major corporations, obviously, to look at folks. People tell me all the time, if you would give me somebody that's been in the military. I have a home builder friend. He said, give me somebody who's been in the military, is a decision maker, knows what he needs to do or she needs to do, is responsible, has the ability to work long hours, shows up on time, all of the things that are ingrained in those that have worn the uniform. Said, I can teach them to build a house. If you bring me somebody that knows how to build a house and doesn't have those things, he said, I can't teach those. And so there are people out there today that want to hire veterans. We've got to put them together and make that happen. We've got a disability claims process that is absolutely a shambles. I've talked to a couple of you already. We have almost 1 million claims in the Veterans Administration's in the backlog right now. Now, when I have the Secretary and his folks come to us and they testify, they very quickly will say, well, we processed 1 million claims last year. Well, that's all good, but the trajectory still is on the rise of the claims that aren't getting approved. And so when President Obama came in office, it was half of what it is today, and it's continuing to rise. We've got to find a way to get these claims adjudicated as quickly as possible and get them done right the first time, and quit this passing paper back and forth, which you guys have been involved. You know exactly how it works. They'll wait to the very end of time, they'll send you a letter and say, well, you're missing form X, Y, or Z. The only thing that's going to prevent that from being a continuing problem, obviously, is going to be a true electronic medical record, but that's a long way off. And unfortunately, your government has spent billions of dollars in trying to get a true electronic medical record where DOD and VA can talk to each other, and they don't. DOD loves their software platform, and VA loves theirs. And I keep telling them, if we came into California and gave somebody a $1 million bonus, somebody in the private sector, they could probably figure out a way to make those two software packages, develop a patch to make them talk to each other. So, obviously the jobless issue that's out there, the issue as it relates to disability claims, and then look, we have a mental health care crisis right now within those that have worn the uniform, unlike this country has ever seen. We do not have enough healthcare professionals right now within the Department of VA to be able to handle those who need our help, our country's help, young and old alike. We're having returning veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan in great numbers that are having PTS problems. Surely traumatic brain injury is a huge issue because of the IEDs that are being used against our men and women over there. But we're also having a lot of Vietnam veterans that have not just had mental health issues all along, but they're beginning to express those now in their older years. And the president came out with some grandiose idea back in June and said, we're going to hire 1,900 more mental health professionals to be able to handle this problem. He didn't call it a bump in the road, he called it a problem. And it's a crisis, is really what it is. But what he didn't tell the American people is that we had 1,500 people deficit already. So we need over 3,000 mental health workers, and we can't hire them fast enough in order to fix the problem that exists. And so we've been looking at trying to go outside the box. Yesterday in Washington, talking to the American Legion, I asked the commander, I said, if we could double the availability of mental health professionals overnight, would you at least be willing to look at that? And the answer is yes. I think anybody would. And a lot of folks don't want to go outside of the VA system because they're afraid it would dismantle what we already have built, and nobody wants to do that. But if we allow for mental health purposes, the option of people to be able to go into the TRICARE system, which is accustomed to dealing with folks that have been in active duty service, it's accustomed to dealing with veterans issues. We could double the capacity overnight, and I think go a long way to helping fix many of those issues that are out there today. I look forward to listening to you this morning. I came here because Kim is the type of person that I would like to see serving in the United States Congress, being a part of our conference. I would rather have somebody who believes in the ideas and the concepts of the Founding Fathers. And I come out to the West Coast, and when you're on the east side of the United States, Nancy Pelosi is not a hero. And I doubt she's a hero in this group for many people here, but she may be. But I want somebody who's not going to vote for Nancy Pelosi to be the Speaker of the House. And we went so far back in the 2 years that we had the President and the House was in Democrat control and the Senate was in Democrat control. We were trying to repair a lot of the issues that arose during that time. So to be able to come out here, come to California, wear my boots, that's a neat thing. To come out here into an area that looks a lot like where I come from. Even though we have heavy military and we have beautiful white beaches, we also have a lot of agriculture. Peanuts and cotton and timber and cattle. An agricultural park that has a huge military influence that the economy depends on. And every time you hear BRAC mentioned, people begin to get very nervous. And then, of course, you know, as I depart here this morning, I'm looking forward to having an opportunity to very briefly go by the National Cemetery and be able to see that. I know it's been open now for about 10 years, and I'm looking forward to seeing it as I continue my visit here, and then I start back to the east campaigning for some other folks. But I wanted to come here and be able to talk about veterans issues. So why don't we do this? Let's open up the floor for folks, and if you've got questions or comments, and I know that there's some veteran service officers and folks that are here today that have brought some information, and that's part of the problem is just getting the information in front of the veterans. I mean, y'all know it. Y'all say y'all here?
We'll let you.
You all right? Y'all know it. You know it. There are a lot of younger folks today that are coming out of the military that don't know the veteran, the benefits that they have earned. They're not entitled to it. They've earned them. And so, you know, we have done things like mandating transition assistance programs, TAP, as you're coming out of active duty service, so that you will know what your country will provide for you because of your service. And so I know there's some folks here that have brought some information. And I got to say, this is one of the best halls that I have ever seen anywhere in the country. This is a magnificent facility. Most of the ones that I go into, the ceiling comes down to about here, where it hits you in the head, and smoke is down to about here when you're walking through the room. But it's great to be here, and I would be remiss if I didn't say to everybody that has served in uniform in this country, thank you for your service. Some of you did it voluntarily, some of you did it because of a letter you got from the postmaster in your mailbox, but thank you for what you did. We're honored to represent you in Washington. So with that, Kim, let's see if we got any questions that folks may have.
One thing I want to tell everybody, in the back, there's a handout. If you don't know where your veteran service officers are, it outlines everybody in each county. All of our counties have a veteran service officer, as long as your county has funded and supported that, and all the counties in this district do. So I want to make sure that everybody has picked up one of these on their way out, and it also outlines some other services on the front. You know, I want to recognize one other person we have in the audience as well, Councilman John Dukes from Yuba City. John was very instrumental, as well as Supervisor Reagan, who's not with us today, but some of his staff is, in the BRAC process this last round that affected Travis and Beal. And I'll tell you what, one thing I will do once in office, I'm not going to sit and wait for BRAC to come to me. I'm going to be proactive and make sure that we are doing everything we can to set the tone for these bases to be able to fight off BRAC. Because you can't wait for it and then have to defend it. You have to be on the offense, make sure the external pressures aren't putting the base commanders in a situation where they want to throw their hands up. Solano County, Yuba County, and Yuba City and Marysville, they've done a spectacular job. And I want to add on to that to make sure that we can keep these bases, not only what they are, but grow them. And John, if you want to say a few words real quick.
I have a question. I think our military does a wonderful job of training our soldiers to fight, to go to war. I think where we fall down is how do we get them to come back to society and integrate them back into society. You've talked a little bit about the mental health issues, but when we have even today returning veterans committing suicide at a rate of 1 per day, it's just wrong. We need to stand beside those veterans as they come back and help them get reintegrated into society. How can we do that better?
Well, let me give you a statistic that's even more disturbing than returning vets at 1 a day. Veterans as a whole is 18 a day. 18 veterans in the United States of America commit suicide every single day. And to think that we are not there to help these individuals in their time of need is a failure on our government's part. And so, a couple of things. Number one, you're absolutely right. We spend months teaching somebody how to be a warfighter, changing how you think, making sure that you are capable and ready to do what you need to do if your country calls you. And then when it's over, out you go. I mean, you know, World War II veterans in particular, and I know Vietnam veterans in the same way, Korea probably the same. I mean, you came home, you went to work, you just got on a bus, you came to a central drop-off point, and that was it. I mean, there was absolutely no focus on you as a person. You've done your hitch, you were out. And a lot of people tell me that the time that you separate, you were glad to go and you weren't even looking for anything. You were just trying to go. And that's why I said that the TAP program is so critical, because the only group that has mandated it in years past has been the Marine Corps. The Marines made folks do it. They only give you 5 hours. 5 hours is not enough. I mean, I'm thinking 5 days at a minimum, and then give you the opportunity after you've been out 6 or 8 months to come back when you've got more questions. So, you know, from a mental health perspective, people don't. The Department of Veterans Affairs will tell you today, if you've got a mental health issue, that within 14 days you can get an appointment. Well, guess what? When you've got an issue, you need help that day. You don't need it 14 days, but the truth be told, it's actually 50+ days before you actually get to see somebody. Now, I will, in defense of the VA, if somebody calls up and says they have suicidal tendencies, they get to talk to somebody immediately. But these people that have lingering issues that aren't quite sure, this is where, you know, our mental health system has failed our veteran population. So all of the health care benefits, the education benefits, the job benefits that are out there, the re-education benefits, all of those things that are available, it makes no sense not to express to the returning veteran, or when I say even those that were not in combat. I mean, if they've done their tour and they decide they're not going to make a career out of it, you know, you hear so much from people, they say people are getting out of the military in great numbers. Not really. I mean, we have so many people re-upping over and over and over again because they're patriots. They want to serve their country. They want to serve it in any way that they can. And those that choose to leave service and go into civilian life, it's incumbent on us to help them in that transition. And then I'm gonna do you first, and then you. We'll do that. Right.
Okay. What I see in the VA system is that once you file a claim, okay, they send you out a report. You get about 3 of them, and then there's nothing. So after almost 11 months, I tried to get, there's no communication between who you filed the claim with and you. Like, where is it? What's happening? So after 452 days, I think I finally got a report back that says, well, we're backed up. You're in line, and we'll pick you when we can. But still, that's not the answer. That's too long for a vet to go without even having this claim process. You haven't even got to the evaluation. After you get the evaluation, you still have to go to the evaluation, and then you have to go through the grading system. I mean, you're out a good 2 years, maybe, or longer, before you even, anything happens, you know.
And let me just give you a little secret. Most veterans would never think about calling a member of Congress. All right, this is one time when I'm going to tell you, call your current member of Congress, or wait till after November and call your new member of Congress. We all have caseworkers. We all have caseworkers in our office, and I have one that specifically does nothing but work veteran issues. That's all they do. Most of you want to solve the problem yourself. The bureaucracy is so big, sometimes you can't do it on your own. That's where we come in. And we can kick folks and take names and make sure. We can't make them move your case up above somebody else, because obviously that would disenfranchise somebody else that was in the stack. But what bothers me, and we've asked VA to allow us to do this, if you come to me and you say, I need help, why not let my caseworker have eyes on your file within the electronic system? VA won't let us do that right now. To be able to look and see, because invariably what's going to happen, they're going to come back and say you're missing something out of your file that they need to do your rating. Well, if my caseworker is looking at your file and he knows what he's looking at, he can figure that out long before they even pull yours out of the stack and start looking at it. We need more eyes on your case, but they say there's HIPAA violation, issues. Not really when you sign a casework form with us. A lot of people think that adding more bodies and throwing more money at the system is going to solve it. We've done that. I mean, we have spent hundreds of millions of dollars, and the case workload has gotten worse. The backlog has gotten worse. We have to shake up not only the bureaucracy, but the mindset of those that are rating the cases, and they're doing their job. I mean, they know they're supposed to rate X number of cases a day, a week, whatever that number is. They need to be rated correctly. It's not a matter of just getting the case off their desk. It's getting it done right the first time. Secretary Shinseki said that by 2015, over 90% of the cases would be done within 125 days. He still says it can be done. I said there's no way under the current system that that's going to happen. They can say that all they want to do, and I guess if you say it enough times, certain people will believe that. But you are absolutely correct. Now, I've seen files this thick sitting, waiting to be reviewed. The system obviously is broken. We're not prepared. The administration is not prepared to handle what's going on. And I asked the Legion yesterday how to fix it. Their solution is add more folks to the bureaucracy. I'm not one that thinks that's what solves it. We've got to change the mindset within those raters that are doing what they're supposed to do. There's one right behind you. That's what you do.
Oh, hi. Congressman, my name is Jeff Jewell. I'm actually a director of VA Vet Center. You're familiar with the Readjustment Council?
Yes, sir.
I'm the director of the Sacramento Vet Center, and this area is part of my responsibility. And I heard you talk about putting more people for help for the mental health side. Well, what I'd like to know is, do you envision giving us more help with the vet centers? I personally feel that there'd be a lot more bang for your buck with the vet centers, and I've been begging for more help. I've got over 500 open cases. I'm in 8 different cities. In fact, I do counseling here today. That's why I'm here today. And I have counselors working all over. In fact, I run a group up in Yuba City, in Rockville, Solano College, here, Vacaville, Lodi, and we're just totally overwhelmed. They're giving me temporary help, and I've been asking for more permanent help. So with the vet centers, we're on the ground. I like to say to people, we're on the front line, and I have to tell you, sir, I see miracles every day. I mean, as a director, I do hear those horror stories, but for every one horror story, there's at least 100 good things that are going on within VA. And I love working for them. I love working for the vet centers. And we have a lot of really dedicated people, and I try and get that out there every day. Because I do hear horror stories, but for every one horror story, you don't hear about the 100 things that absolutely don't go right. And so I'm hoping, you know, that you can go back and maybe the vet centers, because there's 306 of them, we're on the ground, we're in the community. If we could get more resources, I know, sir, that we could do a lot more.
Well, if you're asking me, am I a proponent of vet centers, my answer is absolutely yes. The ones that we have, not only in Pensacola, but in Fort Walton, do a tremendous job. I have several friends that go to group sessions together, and they get so upset. And at one time, they thought their sessions were going to be taken away from them, and I heard from them real fast. And you are correct. I mean, these guys like to see and visit with each other and talk about, you know, their successes, you know, their weaknesses and problems, and they can help each other solve the issues a lot of times before you can. And so I support the vet centers. I think they are a wonderful opportunity to provide services to the veteran population. As the toughest thing that you got, obviously, you've got one of those districts that's spread out, and the rural areas are really tough. And that's where, you know, looking at the issue, you know, of telemedicine, telecounseling, doing all of that stuff.
We've just been told that we're going to be getting, they're looking at the telemedicine or conferencing for rural areas so that we can be in contact with these folks in rural areas. So that I understand we're going to be getting that, and I applaud that. But where the rubber hits the road, man, we really, I could really use some additional help. And also, in my vet center, if a veteran contacts us and they're in a crisis, we absolutely see them that day. I don't care who it is, we make it happen. And as clients contact us, within 1 week, they're assigned a counselor. And we always screen them to make sure that they're not in some kind of a crisis at that moment where they need to be seen. And if they need to be seen more immediately, I absolutely will move people. But I'm a director and a counselor, and I'm supposed to be at 30% productivity with seeing clients. I'm almost hitting 60 because I'm asking my counselors to do a lot. Some of them have caseloads of over 100 people. And and so I'm taking on more and trying to run the office. So if you can, the vet centers, we do a really good job. I know you get a good bang for your buck. At least I know you do in Sacramento. I'm responsible for my vet center, and I make sure that the money is spent wisely, and I make sure that every dollar is accounted for. I mean, I'm the steward, and I know that. But some things are out of my control above, and I'd sure like to see the vet centers get more support because we are actually on the ground. And
thank you for what you do. As you said, you are where the rubber meets the road, and we appreciate that. And when I talk about the bureaucracy of VA, I'm not talking about the people that are on the line. I'm talking about the people predominantly in the central office that has doubled in size over the last 4 years. Having additional colonels and brigadier generals doesn't help, but a lot of privates and corporals and sergeants are going to make the difference, making people better and providing the health care that they need. So you're absolutely correct. It bothers me when a budget gets submitted by the president and the secretary that asks for a 140% increase in personnel within their legislative affairs office. They're like 140% increase. It doesn't make sense. And so the central office has grown and grown and grown, while folks out here.
I can tell you, last year we're up over almost 10,000 visits. That's a 12% increase over last year. We're up 19% in new visits over the previous year. So, and in the Pacific Western region as a whole, I mean, they're up very high, and I think primarily because a lot of the veterans settled in this area in California.
No, they settled in my district. Let me move on. Let me say thank you. And you just said something else. We sent a surge to Afghanistan, and we're about to have a surge coming back home, and we are not ready for it. We are not ready for it. I mean, and then you talk about sequestration and the fact that you're going to have people leaving active duty service before they really want to leave, and become better, I mean, we're going to have numbers swell unlike a time that we haven't seen in many, many years. So you are absolutely correct. And I salute those of you that are closest to the folks because you are the ones that are making the biggest difference. There's somebody that yes, sir.
Yeah, Bob Mattson from Vallejo, actually. And well, I would like to thank Jeff, was the one that got me started in the PA process years ago. But besides that, I'm going to be more specific. That open office is atrocious for their processing.
It's
claims.
the worst in the country.
Yeah, I read that before.
It is the worst
so it's been
in the country.
Over years, I've been put off and then letters and go process and then another year. So for one claim, it's been about 2 years just for waiting. And you talked about also another subject. You talked about contacting the congressman. Well, years ago, I contacted my congressman. I got more to put off, and I couldn't really prove what the problem was. Anyway, they totally put me off. He's the guy for years that has me too.
Well, let me tell you this.
I'll say it.
I'm going to be careful. There's a couple Millers here in California, but the issue, first of all, contacting a congressman. I tell folks in my office every day, it doesn't matter what the issue is. When somebody calls, it's important enough to them to call their United States congressman. It must be pretty darn important. And we're not the rater, and we're not the one that actually adjudicates the claims. But by golly, we can make sure that those that are responsible for doing it get it done. You talk about Oakland. The vast majority of the Oakland cases are being contracted out across the country. I mean, they're not even they're bogged down now. They're sending cases all over the place to other business, other regional offices. And we have talked about this and talked about this really until I think we're going to have to end up having a field hearing out here and bring the whole committee to Oakland to talk to them about why. You know, I understand if you have a heavier caseload than others, but there are others in this country that have heavier caseloads than Oakland has. But again, there's a mindset that needs to be changed. And you're, unfortunately, the one that is suffering from their lack of ability to work through their claims. We've got, you know, look at North Carolina. They've got a claims facility in North Carolina that has a floor that's buckling under the weight of the claims that are sitting in their offices waiting to be adjudicated. It doesn't make sense. There have been all kinds of ideas that have been floated around how to solve it. Folks just need to know who's on the other end of that claim. It's a human being that serves this country, and they need our help, and we need to help them. Yes, sir.
My name is Bill Davis. I work with disadvantaged veterans in the area. And one of the things that I've noticed is there's a lot of money that's thrown around for retraining programs. We just had VRAP. We've got a lot of different programs that are around. But the problem is, once a vet goes through those programs, there's no job waiting for them at the end of that tunnel. And what I'd like to see the committee work on, is a program where you drive the jobs from the industry. Instead of spending the money on retraining the vets in a third-party organization, take that money and put it into the industries, let the industries retrain those vets in a kind of an intern program, and guarantee them a job if they're performing satisfactorily at the end of that program. I can't tell you the number of veterans that I've worked with that go through a retraining program with the state or the county or whatever. At the end of that program, they go to apply for a job and there is no job. So what I'd like to see the committee do, and that's one of the first things that the vet needs to reestablish themselves in society, is a good paying job. And you can't get that without having the buy-in with the industry. So I think instead of throwing money with grants and that kind of stuff after programs that are ineffectual right now, we had the green energy program that was basically a disaster. We trained over 45 veterans in this area alone on a green program. at the end of that program, there were no jobs. So I'd like to see the committee work from the top down instead of having us try to fight from the bottom up.
And you are correct. We are trying to work from both directions, and that's what I was saying. I may not have said it as well as I should have. You know, trying to match a veteran as they're coming out. Here's how your government serves the men and women in uniform today. I don't remember which state it was. Let's just say Michigan. Michigan had a guard unit that was ready to come home. They actually contacted that guard unit while they were still in theater, began talking with them via the internet, asking them who has jobs waiting for them when they come home, who needs a job, who wants a job, what kind of job are you looking for, and they placed the vast majority of the individuals when they came back home. Can you believe the DOD said, we're not going to let you do that anymore? Now that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You know, folks are focusing on coming back home. This was a great idea. We're still going to push for it and try and make sure that we can do that. But you are correct. The last thing we need to do is to spend dollars on training or retraining a veteran, only to find at the end of that training that there isn't a job for them. So, you know, I take your advice and will return back, you know, to the committee. We actually have an education and economic opportunity committee that focuses on nothing but that. Next time you're in Washington, come by and
I might do that.
come by and visit. Mike Brink, who's my staff director for that subcommittee, has been at it for a long time. He is open to all kinds.
Well, the other thing I'd like to see the committee work on is the fact that these guys are trained for 4 years or 8 years or 20 years in the medical corps, or in, you know, they drive heavy equipment. They get out and they have to go through a whole nother setup with the state or the local government to get certified that they know what they're doing. Most of the corpsmen that come out of the military know more than an LVN knows in a hospital.
Part of the Vow to Hire Heroes Act that we passed last year, it is now signed into law. It's one of those training programs that's out there provided for DRAP and other things. Precisely does that. And what we can do is we can encourage states. We're not going to mandate states to be able to accept this for certification, but we've got to figure out a way to get DOD to take the MOS number, whatever it happens to be, and apply it to whatever your civilian job may be. You are absolutely correct. There's no reason that a combat medic can't be an EMT the day that they roll into town. Let me tell you, I talked to, and here's where we get a little bit of a conflict. You know, you talk about nurses, becoming a nurse. Some of the current educators at upper levels will say, well, wait, they haven't had their humanities and they haven't had their English, and they, look, if I need you and I'm in a wreck on the side of the road, I'm not going to ask you to diagram a sentence for me. I want you to help me. And you are absolutely right. Use the skills that have been learned and trained for. You know, the kid that comes to me and says, and they have, hey, I was a gunner on a Humvee. Who's going to hire me? Well, there aren't a lot of jobs for gunners on Humvees, but there are a lot of folks that want somebody who can make a split-second decision, who has a good head on their shoulders and knows what it is to work long hours. So you are correct. And you know, that's another thing unto itself. I mean, there are programs scattered all over our government. You know, there are training programs within VA, there's training programs within the Department of Labor, there's training programs within the Department of Agriculture. We've got to find some way to make them all work for the person who needs it the most, and that is the person at the end of the pipeline, the Excel pipeline. It's all about jobs. Sure would be nice if we could have some jobs and not look at these pie-in-the-sky green energy type issues. But Kim, thank you very much for asking me to come out here today. I look forward to watching the returns on the 6th of November, and I look forward to working with you in Washington on helping the veteran community get what they have earned.
Thank you very much. The Dixon Hall, you guys have been fantastic to me. I've gotten to come here a couple times, and I'm I'm really appreciative that you guys were willing to do this morning and host the congressman and myself. And I look forward to working extremely hard on the issues that you all face. And thank you all for your tremendous dedication to this country and your service.
Let me go right here. Thank you so much.